All right, so today we're going to talk about this little box that has a ridiculously long name, the 2.5GE XPON ONU. Yeah, I know, it sounds super complicated, but trust me, this tiny device is actually the key to unlocking some seriously next-generation internet. So let's jump right in and figure out what this thing is all about. But first, let me ask you this. Is your internet really ready for what's coming? I mean, you might have the latest and greatest Wi-Fi 6 router, maybe you're trying to stream 8K content or you're getting into VR, but are you actually getting the speeds you think you are? Because a lot of the time, the real problem, the real bottleneck isn't your internet plan, it's the hardware connecting you to it. So here's the game plan for today. First, we're going to decode all that tech jargon. Then we'll get into why you actually need this kind of speed. After that, we'll pop the hood and see what's inside, figure out who this is for, and finally, talk about how to future-proof your network for good. Okay, first things first, let's tackle that name. We're going to take that whole alphabet soup, 2.5GE XPON ONU, and we're going to break it down piece by piece until it makes total sense. Let's start with ONU. What on earth is that? Well, it stands for Optical Network Unit, but the easiest way to wrap your head around it is to just think of it as a modem, but one that's built specifically for fiber optic internet. It's the translator that takes the light signals zipping down that fiber cable and turns them into a regular old internet connection that your router can actually understand. Now, to get the next part, you kind of have to know that not all fiber networks speak the same language. There are two main flavors out there, EPON and GPON. They're just different technical standards, different ways of sending data, and your internet service provider uses one or the other. And this is where the XPON part comes in, and it's pretty brilliant. Think of XPON as a universal translator. A device that's XPON is dual mode, which means it doesn't care if your provider uses EPON or GPON. It automatically figures it out and just works. No compatibility issues, no frantic calls to tech support. It just connects. It's that simple. Okay, so we've cracked the code on the name, but why does any of this actually matter? Well, that brings us right to section 2, the need for speed. Because your connection might feel okay today, but the demands we're throwing at our networks are just getting bigger and bigger. I mean, just picture a typical modern home, right? You've got Wi-Fi 6 devices everywhere. Maybe someone's streaming a movie in glorious 8K, somebody else is lost in a VR world, while another person is in a super competitive online game. And on top of all that, you're trying to have a rock-solid video call for work. Every single one of those things is an absolute data hog. And when you try to do all of that at once, you inevitably hit a wall. You create a bottleneck. It's like a massive 8-lane superhighway suddenly getting squeezed down into a single country lane. Your hardware just can't keep up with all that traffic, and boom, everything slows to a crawl for everyone. So what's the fix? Well, it's pretty simple, really. You need a bigger pipeline. And that's where the 2.5GE part of the name becomes the hero of the story. This device's main port can handle speeds up to 2.5 gigabits per second. That is 2.5 times faster than the standard 1 gigabit port you find on most gear today, the very thing that causes that traffic jam. Which, of course, brings us to our third section. Let's pop the hood and take a closer look at the actual hardware features that make all this possible. So the core setup here is super simple, but really, really smart. You get that all-important 2.5 gigabit port for max speed to your main router or PC. You also get a regular 1 gigabit port for anything else you need to wire up. And of course, you have that slick XPON Dual-Mode for that universal plug-and-play compatibility. And it's all packed into this tiny, discrete little box. Okay, now beyond the ports, there are a few other tech specs here, but let's be real. What do they actually mean for you? Well, the key things to notice are the super wide operating temperature range and the really low power consumption. It basically means this thing is built like a tank. It's a true set it and forget it piece of your network that's just going to work day in and day out, no drama. So the big question is, who actually needs this kind of power? Let's dive into some of the real-world situations where this kind of next-gen speed really, truly makes a difference. And what's cool is that this isn't just for one type of person. The biggest use case, sure, is FTTH, or fiber to the home, perfect for tech enthusiasts and power users. But it's also absolutely ideal for SOHO, that's small office/home office, and even for bigger FTTO, or fiber to the office setups. Its versatility is honestly one of its biggest strengths. You know, this kind of hardware is really built to handle what the pros call triple play services. And all that means is having one single powerful fiber connection that can flawlessly deliver 3 things at once: your high-speed internet data, your telephone or voice services, and your high-definition video. So let's translate that into plain English. For you, this means no more buffering wheels when you're watching your 8K TV. It means your online games are buttery smooth and totally lag-free. It means your work video calls are stable and crystal clear, and it gives you a rock-solid backbone for a house that's probably overflowing with smart devices, all screaming for a piece of that internet pie. All right, let's pull all of this together and talk about the big picture, future-proofing your network. Because this isn't just about getting the speed you need right now. It's about being ready for whatever's just around the corner. You know, there's a line in the info about this device that just nails it perfectly. It says, the 2.5GE port fully meets the high access bandwidth requirements of tomorrow's technology today. And that's it right there. It's about putting something in place that you know isn't going to be obsolete in a year.
So really, it all boils down to 3 simple steps. Step 1. You unlock true multi-gigabit speeds and say goodbye to that 1 gig bottleneck. Step 2. You connect with total confidence to pretty much any fiber network out there. And step 3. You power the future by building a foundation for whatever awesome data-hungry tech comes next.
And that leaves us with one final and I think really important question to ask yourself. Your internet provider, they're always rolling out faster and faster plans. But all that speed means nothing if your own equipment can't handle it. So the real question is, your internet is ready for the future, but is your hardware?